I can remember when it happened, when it all happened. I hadn't even completed my education yet. I was still in elementary school at the time, but I knew some of our history, the true one, that is. Nowadays, it's a crime to try and remember the times before they came to power. They call it a sickness of the brain, but I know that's just propaganda. Funny enough, I thought it wouldn't happen here, let alone happen across the entire planet. Maybe I should have paid more attention to current events, but hey, I was just a kid, so you can't blame me. I tried to remember what may have led them to amass the power they have today. I recall a pandemic, something called COVID, and a war in a place called Iran. Well, I'm not sure if it was called Iran back in those days, but I do know with absolute certainty that there was a culture war between the left and the right, though the regime doesn't resemble either. Not even center. I think they rounded up and executed all the political people. There's nobody left to call out their atrocities. I remember the conspiracy theories surrounding COVID, though. A lot of people started pointing fingers at this one guy named Klaus Schwab and the WEF for some reason. This was the time when everyone carried around these black rectangles on their person at all times. I think back then they hadn't existed yet, or else I would have heard about them. Fools. If only they knew the real evil hiding in plain sight. I couldn't pin down the exact day when they actually came to power, except for the celebrations and the utter chaos that followed afterwards. The fact that they did away with traditional calendars for a revolutionary one makes this even harder. They call the current year Year 7. Stupid, I know, but I overheard a woman saying that it's actually Year 12 according to their ideology. Now, I don't know which is which. Perhaps they deliberately introduced this to mess with our minds. Can't remember how long it's been since they took over. I remember their tanks rolling through the city square, people celebrating us being ushered out of the city by soldiers. They said something about a nuke coming to the city, but that was a lie. There was no nuke at all. I think people were celebrating the end of a long war that they had won. I don't think the people were celebrating them as the victors, but rather in peace in general. Peace. I like that word. I am a strong champion of peace and justice. Well, not what they call justice nowadays, but true justice in its original sense. When they came to power, all of our civil liberties, freedoms, and rights were gone just like that. Snap of a finger. They gave us these new black outfits to wear, and we had to wear them all the time on pain of death. I mean, our people love to dress in all sorts of clothing, play games, draw, travel. Now they're all banned or heavily regulated, and they make us work in the fields for no reward. After we're finished, they take everything and leave us with nothing. Sometimes they make us watch a little war movie just before bed. These movies with no plot are just cringe-worthy to watch. Remember when movies used to have color and were filmed in something called 4K? Don't know what that means, though. Even simple things are controlled. Eating became communal and driving is restricted. The ones who enforce their rules. Cowards. Just about anyone would betray their own people for status and power. Hell, they have no problem ripping babies away from their parents, only just to raise them into indoctrinated little shits. I hate what kids have become. I've only referred to them as they, but they have a name, believe it or not. They call themselves the organization, led by Comrade Number One, who is the Prime Minister of the entire world, or Oceania, or as they call it. Nobody knows who he was before he came to power, although there are rumors. It's not like I can ask any elders who might know the truth, because their first order of business was to purge the old people. So they couldn't have anybody walking around who might contradict their version of events. Also, it doesn't stop with just their opponents or the elderly, but everyone with a mental or physical disability, homosexuals, trans people, people who need glasses, even those who may have the slightest physical problem. All forms of abnormality, according to them, had to be erased. But all they want is an excuse to purge or disappear someone. Uh, I wonder what Comrade Number One looks like. If he exists, that is, as I've only seen busts of him, but I bet he really looks ugly and fat. Would be ironic is the reason all these dictators and tyrants do the things they do is to compensate for something. Made it easier to think of them that way. Easier to believe there was something human behind all of this. I don't think like that anymore. That changed the day that I was arrested. My own wife, who only uses me, gave me away for refusing to have sex with her. The funny thing is, she let me sleep before reporting me. Bitch. Once I was thrown in jail, they stripped me naked and started torturing me. First, it started with intense electric shocks to the genitals before moving on to waterboarding and regular beatings. I thought at first that they wanted a confession or something like that, but no, they wanted not to believe, but to think it was year 12. I told them to go to hell before they tortured me yet again, this time with a rack. The rack was more pain than I could deal with. Told them to stop, but they wouldn't until my arms broke. I used to think that they convinced people, that they argued or explained or somehow made things make sense. I was wrong. They don't convince you. They just torture you and they use it to break your mind until the only thing left is what they tell you. Even my room was smeared with feces and the stench was horrible. It's like I couldn't escape the pain, no matter how hard I tried to block it out. Then I realized that being a counter-revolutionary is harder than I thought. Maybe even harder than living by their strict rules. Every day, every night, I begged them to release me, but they wouldn't listen and left me in piss and shit. I even told them everything they wanted to hear, but no, they told me to shut the fuck up and instead went to new lengths to break my body. Breaking one of my kneecaps and then keep hitting them until they were a bloody mess. Every time I tried to walk, a searing kind of pain shot through my leg. It was unbearable. I'd already cried and screamed the air out of myself. It wasn't until they started talking about skinning me alive that broke me. Year 12, year 12, year 12, I kept saying over and over again. Then they saw that I was broken, utterly broken. They released me on good behavior. Think about what I'd done, they said. I already confessed everything. I'm writing this even though I know I shouldn't. Not because I believe what I wrote before, because it's useful to see the difference, to understand how wrong my thinking used to be. But they're going to shoot me anyway. If someone finds this and still believes they're in year 7, still clinging to those old ideas, they understand why. I was the same once. But you're mistaken. It isn't year 7. It was never year 7. You just haven't understood yet. It's year 12. It's always been year 12.